When you've been doing martial arts for 25 years, you pick up some baggage. Baggage is human nature. Where do we get our baggage? There's a lot of psychologists here to probably answer that for you. When you have a lot of baggage, it makes it hard to move quick. Makes it hard to jump. Makes it hard to climb the ladder. Makes it hard to take advantage of opportunities because you're weighed down with all this baggage. Our goal is to help you free yourself of this baggage. What is baggage? In the context of what we're discussing today, as martial arts professionals, baggage represents the preconceived ideas we have about how martial arts should be taught and how martial arts should be presented. It's what I call the shoulds. Shoulds are very dangerous. Rational psychologists will tell you that should is one of the most negative words you can use. How do you should in this context? Martial arts should be taught this way. I was taught that way, and God dang it, you should do it the way that I was taught it. That's irrational, because I have some news for you. The world does not revolve around your shoulds. Don't should all over yourself. It holds you back. It creates baggage. See, we have all benefited so powerfully from the martial arts. It has affected our lives, and through us, the lives of thousands represented by this room. We understand the benefits, and how do we achieve those benefits? We went through a certain process, a methodology, how we were taught. Well, we think that, well, it worked good for me. I loved it that way. Look what it did for me. And in turn, I'm going to do that for you the same way it was done to me. So the key point is that we must separate the methodology from the benefits. Is it possible to achieve the same benefits in the martial arts, or possibly even more, if we were to improve on the methodology? Absolutely. If you're watching, and it's not the one I meant for you to see. But it could have been a lot worse. I've always enjoyed this weekend because I get to see a lot of friends that basically this is the only time I get to see you guys. So thanks so much for coming out. Our theme this year is helping the children through martial arts. We've come a long way in that regard, but I think to understand it, we have to discuss a couple of things. First off, what is martial arts? What are the martial arts? If I was to ask 10 of you, all experts, I bet I get 10 different responses. If I was to then go out into the hallway and find 10 adults that aren't in the arts, I bet I get 10 more responses. And I know if I grabbed 10 kids and asked them that question, I'd get 10 different responses. In the martial arts, it's kind of in vogue to say that I'm not in it for the money. Money's ruining martial arts. That big school across town, they're just in it for the money. That belt factory over there. Then you ask that same person, what's the one single element that would change your life for the better? Oh, win the lottery. $1 million. So earning $1 million by windfall is okay, but actually working hard to earn it is a sin. Money in America, like sex, is something virtually everybody wants more of, but they're just embarrassed to admit it. In the world, there are three kinds of people: the wills, the won'ts, and the can'ts. The wills do everything. The won'ts oppose everything. There's lots of won'ts in martial arts. And the can'ts fail at everything. The fact that you are here today is testament that you belong to the group of the wills. At least I hope so. And if I'm wrong, I really encourage you to get out of the group of the won'ts and the can'ts and move to the wills. Because those of you that this weekend take action, take the information you learn here and apply it into your schools, will truly be the titans of the new era. Because we are at the doorstep of a new revolution, a new century, a new era in martial arts. It starts this weekend. We know that the information and programs that we package for you this weekend, that we put together, are from the best instructors. I mean, the biggest complaint we've had this weekend is I don't know what class to go to. It's as though you'd like us to just line them up one after another for 3 days in a row. because it's so difficult to choose between this instructor and that instructor. We have an extremely exciting program this weekend. So this is a great time for the wills. This is a great time for... So in addition to being shy, intimidated, I had a serious weight problem, at least in my mind I did. When we went shopping, I don't know if they still have them, but we used to shop in the husky aisle. And the husky aisle is what that means? Fat kid. You know, and what that does to your self-image, it never goes away. I don't care what kind of shape I'm in, I always think I'm fat kid. 2 perfect illustrations, and one's in that book. At the end of the World Championship fight, I knew when we went to the center of the ring and the referee held our arms that it was going to be a national TV, it's going to be videos, it's going to be in magazines. As soon as the fight was over, I ran martial arts master up. I wasn't fat. I was in the best shape of my life. I was a world champion. But here, I still was. Last night, we're shopping for jeans. She said, the lady asked, what size jeans? I said, 38-40. She goes, you're not a 38-40. You're a 36-34. I wouldn't hear it. We battled. She won at 36 on. So it's just, the whole thing about self-doubt is it's not something that leaves you sometimes, you just gain control of it. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. Today is the 21st anniversary of probably the most significant day and the most proud day of my life, the day that I earned my first degree black belt. How can I make a connection from that to this? I thought back to a quote that's attributed to Funakoshi, which is, you feel tired? Train. Feel a little sick? Train. Technical difficulties? Train. So as always, it all comes back to our root core, which is that. Sweat. Train. The martial arts power. The most effective and safe. Martial arts master up in the mountain. He's at his temple, right? You know, at the Oliver temples. And then his student, he's got a student, a very eager student. He wants to learn so fast. He wants to get ahead. He wants to be a black belt overnight. So he goes up to the mountain temple. And he sits down, Master, can I have some time with you, sir? He says, sure, have a seat. Let's have some tea together. And he pours himself some tea, and he pours the student some tea. And the student starts asking questions right away. And the master starts to answer the question. As soon as he answers the question, the student interrupts him and gives him his own viewpoint on the subject. You guys ever experienced this maybe, especially if you've had kids? Yeah. So it just kept happening over and over again. In fact, after a while, the tea went cold and the kid had never touched the tea. So the master smiled and said, hey, would you like some more tea? And immediately started pouring more tea into the cup. And the cup was already full, so obviously it started to overflow. And the student said, Master, stop, don't you see the cup is full? And he said, yes, of course the cup is full. You'll never be able to taste my tea until you first empty your cup. So as we spend this next hour together, empty your cup. You might get some golden nuggets that could really make a difference in your life. Because you know what? You're going to hear what you wish you'd have heard a long time ago. You're going to hear things that you can immediately take action on. It can make a huge difference in your life. And if you have children, this is gold. So I was, in addition to, you know, when you get yelled at very quickly, followed by a smack upside the head, you just get quiet. You're like a beat dog. You know, you just go quiet. And you become very shy. I became extremely shy. In elementary school, 2nd grade, Mildred Helms Elementary in Largo, I can remember going 2 and 3 days at a time without talking to another kid. Remember Mom saying one time, did you make some friends? I said, I think so. Because this kid had kept eye contact with me for a few more seconds than most everybody else. I thought we were friends. I think I was. My friends, when we're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, through that period of time, I'm having a blast, loving what I'm doing. They're hating what they're doing. The only job I've ever had, other than doing martial arts and this kind of stuff I do now, is I was a busboy for a while as a kid, up until 18. Daytime, right? Graden, go clear off 6. Sir. You know, nighttime I go to karate school, the parents come up and say, oh, Mr. Graden, would you please talk to my child? He looks up to you so much and he's having some trouble in school. Where do you think I was hanging? Where do you think my ego was getting stroked? It was there. So I use martial arts to redefine myself. This is key. There are a lot of ways you can redefine yourself. Because right now, gang, you are an expert at creating you. No one in the world can do a better job in creating you than you have done creating you. And you are the accumulation of tens of thousands of small decisions day in. My roommate was this charismatic, good-looking, funny guy. He's 20 years old. He's a little older than I was. He was working already for the phone company as a repairman. He'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to a job that he hates to this day, 30 years later, and then come out. At the same time, I was doing what I was doing. Here's the point. One time we had a conversation. You know, we were just talking about the future. He said, what do you think you want to do? He goes, well, I'd love to go to Disney and become a performer. Or I'd like to teach karate like you or something like that. That looks like a lot of fun. His father, however, had been a lineman for the county, a repairman for the power company. And he programmed his son to believe that's what a man does. That's a real job. Fast forward 30 years. In the course of a decade, I created over $30 million in revenue. I've been on the cover of dozens of magazines worldwide. I've designed the life of my dreams. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. He just had a triple bypass surgery, emergency surgery. He lives to this day, paycheck to paycheck, deeply in debt and constantly stressed. So the decisions we make have a serious, wax on, wax off. After a while, I started to feel guilty. My friends used to say, when are you going to get a real job? I was so guilty, in fact, about what I was doing for a living while my friends were living a more traditional life, that I got really guilty. And in fact, I was having a karate tournament up in Gainesville. I was going to go compete. And I went up a day early to meet a girlfriend, old girlfriend, who was a really smart lady. And I said to her, you know, my friends, they work so hard, they hate their jobs. I got free time, cash in my pocket. I'm hanging out in Gainesville with you. How could that be? She looked me right in the eyes and said, John, I know you. You wouldn't have it any other way. There are moments in your life where you get permission from an authority figure, someone you respect, to move to the next level. Most of us never get it. I got it that day. It resonated with me. It resonates with me this day. She gave me permission to succeed. She gave me permission to take responsibility for creating a life rather than making a living. It was a huge event in my life. Did it erase my self-doubt? No. But it sure fast forward 10 years, I'm watching television. And Paul Newman comes on, and he says to the interviewer, I always have this feeling that it's all been a mistake. That somebody's going to come through the crowd one day, grab me by the arm, pull me away, and say, Newman, this was all a mistake. You're going to go back to painting houses. And I watched that and went, oh my God, I know exactly what that feeling is. It's that feeling of guilt that I must be getting away with something. This can't be right. 10 years after that, I was at a hypnosis seminar explaining that same story to somebody or a class. And this girl said, oh, that's the Imposter Syndrome. I wrote my thesis on it. I said, oh my God, you're kidding me. There's a name for it? And lo and behold, there is. The Imposter Syndrome is the feeling that you're not as good, talented, or skilled as everyone thinks you are. It's the feeling you're faking. And it is studies show that it affects about 70% of the population, but in reality, it's probably a lot more because a lot of guys, A, don't admit it, because we're guys, and B, a lot of people just never get out of the starting gate to experience it because it just holds them back so much. And here's what I've learned about the imposter syndrome. Here's what I've learned as a key realization about success. Everyone fakes it. Everyone fakes it. What do you think a brain surgeon feels when he's standing over that first patient
You know, I don't want to be that guy. How does an air pilot feel the first time he's got real people on board and going in turbulence? They're all fake it. You fake it until you make it. Everybody does that. Listen to interviews now with celebrities. Jodie Foster always says, she gets an award, I just feel like such an imposter. I feel like a fake. I feel like somebody's going to come get this award and say it's from Meryl Streep. Mike Myers from Austin Powers always says the comedy police are going to come get me one day. So the stars that are making millions of dollars per year, they have the same self-doubts that we do. They just face them. By the same token, sometimes the stars will get to that level, but their self-image doesn't match it. And that's what we'll start seeing the Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohans and the self-destructive behavior. The only job I've ever... In the UK, there's a great reality show. It's called Faking It. And in Faking It, this is my favorite show. They take somebody who is successful in one area of life, and they put them for 30 days in another area of life. And after 30 days, they have to prove to experts in that area that they're real. They're not imposters. Whoa, man, this is a great show. They took a chess champion. This guy was Nerd City. Hated sports, never played sports. He was a chess guy. They made him the coach of a rugby team. Oh, man. He just didn't understand how men interact. You know, locker room stuff. Slapping each other in the butt with a towel. To them, it was a big insult. To guys, that's just what we do. You know, it's just, we're bonded. They took a very conservative, religious opera singer, classical singer, about 23, 24 years old. I mean, this girl was conservative. And made her the lead singer in a punk rock band. Wow. 30 days later, she had to do a battle of the bands with 3 experts that had to choose which of the lead singers was a fraud. Is that pressure? That's pressure. So that you can see how the Faking It show realistically recreated the feelings of self-doubt that we all have each day. The question becomes, are we letting that self-doubt to continue to control our lives? Or are we taking responsibility at some point for creating trying to pick up more? A spectrum of communication. All right? In here, we have polite, respectful, curious dialogue. A lot of us go this direction. S stands for silence. The further away from dialogue you go towards silence, the more you're simply holding things in. Over time, that just eats you to death. It's always over time. Patterns stack and they build and they define your life. What's the reverse? V stands for violence. Now, right here, violence might be a quick snapback and then an apology, and then you move into the pool of dialogue. For some people, it's really getting angry. Screaming, yelling, cussing, berating, calling you horrible names that they know really hurt you. Some go to the violence where they actually hit you. Some go to